And today, I'm a bad guy. I'm the bad guy. If I just say, hey, hear Putin out, just hear him out. But the guy who did 9/11 and invaded Iraq, he gets to dance with Putin. I'm going to tell you what, I'm not jealous of a lot of things with women, but that woman dancing with Putin, it is a dream of mine. I am inspired. I am on fire. The world is literally burning as we speak. Not fossil fuels, that is, because no one can afford to buy them. We have an amazing show up front for you guys. Welcome back to Slightly Offensive, the best, worst show on Blaze TV, where we always have confetti of color blasting in our face, the wonderful 8K graphics you've come to know and love. I'm Elijah Schaefer, your top 17 host, and I am joined by two of my favorite people in the world, the victims of vaccine damage. John Doyle from Heck Off Commie, welcome back to Slightly Offensive.
Thank you. What was that qualifier? The victim of vaccine damage?
It was a joke about autism.
Yes. I see. Well, I wasn't vaccinated, but then it's also the whole being autistic thing. So the joke didn't quite land. So
I was as a baby, like when they give you like vaccines as a baby.
Yeah.
There's no vaccine out currently that adults are taking. You didn't know that?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah. There's something that people give that name to. You know what I'm saying? Like God, like, you know, for instance, God made the rainbow about the promise he wouldn't flood the earth, and now it means gay. And gay used to mean happy and now means gay. Vaccine used to mean vaccine, and now vaccine means whatever means gay.
Right.
We also have my second favorite, very damaged individual who's done nothing good for society, Greta Thunberg. Welcome back to Slightly Offensive.
Thunberg, thank you for asking me to come speak at your event. It's smaller than I expected. Let it be known, I did not take a flight here. I arrived in an emissions-free yacht.
Why is it every time I confront a woman, it's smaller than I expected? Why is that always what they tell me?
It's because they don't listen to you. I mean, you advertise it such that it is known to be Elmicron, and they're just not listening. And so then when they're confronted with it, they're like, this is smaller than expected.
I had more people at my first climate strike walkout in front of the Swedish parliament.
You're so unnecessary. I will say this, though. We are happy to have you here. I did want to bring this around because, you know, we have the autist back in the room. I have Down syndrome. Did you get that TikTok I sent you where her brother had autism and Down syndrome?
Which one, Elijah? Which one?
The one where he's like, and it was like, my brother has autism and Down syndrome. And I was like, bro, this is if we fused. It's like, this is our offspring. He's just sitting in bed having like a demonic possession attack.
No,
and I'm like,
I have a policy in my household, which is I don't acknowledge any correspondence from Elijah Schaefer between the hours of like 1 a.m. and 7 a.m. And if it was in that window, which I imagine it was, I just ignore it because it's always TikToks. It's always like weird, obscure startup ideas. And it's just like, you need to go to sleep. Like,
no, it's true. Make sure you follow John at heckoffcommie.com, and you make sure that you follow his channel. And you can search John Doyle. You can get a lot of updates on, he's a Russia expert, woman expert, black person expert. He's basically, there's very few things that he's not a respecter of and not an expert of. And we are big John Doyle respecters. Also, Chrissy Mayer has shows coming up. Good Nights 317 in Raleigh, North Carolina, Wormhole 319 in Savannah, Georgia, Side Splitters 320 in Tampa, Florida, and the album live from January 6th on 3/15 being released on iTunes and Amazon. And Greta, you're here to promote that. You were hired or something.
I hope that all of those shows she's able to get to without any emissions.
Or disabled emissions.
Differently abled.
Okay, so before we jump into the show today, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor now, memetic, because John, I don't know if you've been aware of this, but the world isn't exactly a safe place, and as of right now, it's very volatile, and it's really unsure of what's going to happen.
yes.
And you've talked to me, like, you know, no one starts their day thinking that, you know, something bad's going to happen. And obviously memetic, this brand, was born from a tragic car accident where one of their family members was unable to live. They died because nobody had the ability to treat their wounds or to help them in their time of issue. And so I know that the world's getting tough, and I've had smaller medic packs. Guys, I went with the full wartime. I call this, it's not even what it's called. This is my wartime medic pack. I got John a pack as well down there. I stole some ibuprofen from it though. John, I got you they're more like travel sized pack right here. And there's just so much different things inside of it. Show them what's inside of it. Like just a million things.
Like a Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, they're MyFac Pro is not your typical box of bandages. It comes with over 100 quality aid and trauma supplies, including a tourniquet, chest seals, quick clot, and more. With this kit, you'll be prepared to treat everything from basic cuts to a gunshot wound. Built in the US and guaranteed for life. I do not go out in the field without one now. And honestly, the field is everywhere. It is so insane. Car accidents, work injuries. Don't bet your life on it. Go to memetic.com and get 15% off MyFac Pro plus life-saving online courses, absolutely free with promo code OFFENSIVE. Be prepared, be confident. That's mymedic.com, MYMEDIC.com, promo code OFFENSIVE for 15% off the MyFac Pro. And honestly, very, very cool. It is actually very, very neat.
Elijah, are there any solar panels in these packs?
No, because the brand isn't cringe and gay. And so they are what you would call patriots, and they love the country, and so they want to save you from problems. They're not trying to cause them. But obviously we're back in the studio, and I'm really happy to have you guys here, genuinely, because isn't it such a crazy time that's like, my man can't even do a live on Instagram, just, talking about the honesty of a global conflict. But, back in the old days, you could just, there was a simpler times. You invade countries without UN Security Council clearance. You bomb, Eastern Europe. And then you dance with Putin and the world is just okay. And now, apparently, we're not in those times. Putin is back to enemy number one. America is always great, never made any mistakes. And the real enemy in the room is the e-boy, the e-celeb, who wants to live stream the truth.
Real. They banned me from live streaming on Instagram. And what you said is so true. I mean, this man is your friend. He fights for freedom. Your enemies are not in Beijing. They're not in Moscow. And they weren't in Baghdad. They're in Washington, D.C. They're in New York. And one of the things about progressivism that I really just despise is that it is so spiritually feminine. They think that they have actually progressed beyond the point of war. And so now that they're seeing what actual, traditional European style land invasion is, they're they can't even comprehend it. They have no concept of it because Vladimir Putin is still, what I guess we would call a strong man, which even that term kind of connotes bad themes. But it's he says, okay, if you cross this line, I'm going to do this. And we're yeah, whatever. So we cross the line. And then he does exactly as he said he would do. And we're scratching our heads what? What? We literally just did the geopolitical equivalent from 1997 to now of kicking the dog, waiting for it to bite, and then shooting it. That has been U.S. foreign policy for the last 30 years, and more broadly speaking, the last 160 years, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's interesting, though, because of Greta being around here, the obvious side effect of what's going on is that we are paying higher gas prices, not just from the war. I think the war is a proxy covering a little bit of what was going on, because thank God inflation wasn't happening until the Ukraine war. Until 2 weeks ago, we haven't seen increased prices. But I would say the Ukraine war is exacerbating this simply because we're suddenly making deals. You're pretty happy about this. It's becoming more expensive, too expensive. They're actually predicting that gas is going to reach upwards of $13, and in Texas, they think it'll reach above 10.
Good. All you could talk about is money and economic growth. I haven't heard you once bring up a natural climate solution.
Everything you say is useless, and it's unhelpful. It is unhelpful. What is it? You were preparing for the rain?
I'm always ready. Our world is warming up. 200 species of animals go extinct every day. Every day.
This is what's so...
When you're off script, it doesn't make sense.
When the elites tell us that we are cattle, you really kind of almost have to understand what they're saying. When they have their focus groups and they decide how are we going to create this character of Greta Thunberg? Thunberg. They're how do we create this? There's this little girl and she's going to talk about the weather. And someone raised their hand. They're she's talking about the weather. She should probably have an umbrella or something. Well, that's impractical, getting that umbrella. Oh, a raincoat. Perfect. That was literally a conversation that was probably had. So when people see her in the raincoat, they're oh, weather, climate. Oh, that makes sense. And it's just the very simplistic sort of caricature of what someone in her position would actually be embodying.
If we talk about the arc, what's crazy is my opinions have changed on a lot. And if this is my autism arc, I originally was why did they pick an autistic girl to be the voice of the climate change movement? Who would listen to an autistic person? Then come around 2 years later.
Everyone.
Literally my favorite person is Autistic, and that's who I get most of my information from, and I'm so happy about it. But I will say this, Julia Song put out a tweet, if we can get my screen up on the computer here. You know, she kind of pointed this out, that shit is so fake that the minute an outsider took office, we got cheap gas, cheap food, became energy independent, no wars, and focused on our country's own issues. Yes, Trump has his issues, and I'm openly willing to criticize him. Do not know why he's continuing to push the Pfizer and Moderna, cash products. Very, very strange. Operation Warp Speed, questionable. His co-sponsoring of Dr. Fauci. Although I got redeemed when I saw him say that, our country's in the hands of incompetent people. But now we have the establishment hacks get back in, and we have inflation, medical tyranny, World War III, need to take a mortgage for gas. I mean, and I think that that's a good place to start, is that shit is whack. Like, things are actually pretty wild. And it's kind of difficult to understand that we're accelerating at such a fast speed towards the deterioration of society. I'm starting to wonder if I should think of this as good or bad. I don't know if this is good. Like, is it to the point where people are gonna get fed up, or is it just gonna make life so miserable that we lose power and control and understanding and then we all die? Or are we getting into the position where people are seeing through the smoke screen and they're beginning to understand what the world is really about?
I think the latter. We often say that things are going to have to get worse before they can get better, because people need to kind of experience a greater material sense of discomfort than just like turning on the television, seeing like Black Lives Matter advertisements during the Super Bowl. Like, you really, like, I can still go and like get coffee without having to really look over my shoulder. And even back when I lived in Michigan in more diverse areas, this was still more or less the case. So we really have never experienced in this country, except for maybe the Great Depression, like a sense of like true, hard times. Like, we live in the most decadent society in the history of the world, and that's what's made us weak. So I'm optimistic in the sense that, like, in the long run, this is what is necessary. The same way that China has what they refer to as their century of humiliation, literally 100 years of just humiliation. This is what has compelled these people to sort of have this almost spiteful attitude of like, we're going to prove to the world that we are a respected and noble people. Same way with Russia and Vladimir Putin in particular. I mean, this is a guy who was in the KGB. He watches the USSR collapse on the world stage in the late 80s and early 90s. He refers to this still to this day as the greatest geopolitical disaster in the history, or in the 20th century rather. And it's like, this is a guy who basically stood back and stood by, so to speak, and waited for his moment to sort of reclaim the glory of like, his empire, I guess you would say, and the Russian people. And I think that's like what he's doing now. So the United States, we just haven't had that position yet. We haven't really suffered major defeats, which is why it's not simping for Vladimir Putin. It's not that we're even pro-Putin. It's just that we understand that we are occupied by a hostile and illegitimate regime, and anything that embarrasses and destabilizes that regime on the world stage is a net good for American patriots. Like, this is a necessary step. They often, these WEF people, they borrow a term from Hegel, which is a historical necessity, when they write about their big plans to engineer society, and they say that these certain things are just historical necessities. Well, the destabilization of the American empire, the globalist American empire, is a historical necessity to truly make America great again. And that, in my opinion, is the most brilliant presidential campaign slogan in this country's history. Like, make America great again. It's vague. No one quite knows what it means. It's open to interpretation. Yet any American knows that it is true, that we are less great than we used to be. Maybe we don't know why. Maybe we don't know what caused that, but we all know it's true. And more importantly, we know that it doesn't have to be that way. But it is that way because of the establishment.
Well, I want to play a game with you guys for a second. It's called Who Was in Office? Okay, so I'm going to give you two scenarios here, and we're going to try to figure out what the similarities might be. If you go to my screen, Patrick DeHaan, the Gas Buddy guy, who apparently we have people who literally just follow gas. That's what they do. Breaking, according to Gas Buddy data, so I guess according to Patrick's own data, the U.S. national average has just set an all-new time record. This is, by the way, already outdated, at 4.10 cents and 4 point, an extra decimal per gallon, eclipsing 2008's record of $4.10 3 a gallon. The higher prices this time will likely stay around for longer. So we have 2022 and 2008, the most extreme gas prices. We're in the middle of global conflicts. Remember, the people in 2008 started wars in Yemen and in Libya, and also where else was there some strikes? Somalia, they did strikes. There was quite a few. I think there was 8 different places that wars were started.
I did many strikes. Remember, I walked out of school.
You've been saying that. We know. It's what, 5 years now? How are you 17 for 5 years? You're like one of those characters from Family Guy where it's like, it's like you've never aged, like the South Park kids. Are they always in like 3rd or 4th grade? How is Ike still in kindergarten or preschool? I don't know. How are you like, you're still a child? And by the way, I saw that singing competition. Oof.
I have a message for world leaders.
Go ahead. Take it. Ruin my show.
Every Friday, we will be doing Fridays for Future. It's a protest against the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. And by the way, we have set off an irreversible chain reaction beyond human control. How many in this room can say they've cut their emissions in half?
Is this your UN? Did you literally just recycle your UN speech for the show? Could you? Like,
my feelings have not changed.
I would just like to, if I may shamelessly plug, that same time in the parking lot across the street, we will be hosting a rally, Fridays for Freedom of Western civilization, and we will be there rallying supports and stuff for Vladimir Putin.
How dare you?
It's true. It's actually true. No, and it's not a joke. But I'm just going to say in the game, we're going to start here. Who was in office in 2008? Who was in office now where we're seeing the exact same globalist plan to delegitimize the peace on the earth and to bring about an unsustainable way to access beef, to access gas? Isn't it so weird that, by the way, everything climate change they say they got to get rid of, suddenly when they're empowered, they're unaffordable and you can't actually buy it? Let's start with Greta. What do you think? Who was in power 2008, 2022?
I believe that was, are you talking about this country?
Yes, Greta, yes.
That was Mr. and Mrs. Michelle Obama.
Mrs. Obama.
Obama.
That's ambitious. I don't know.
Dude, she
about
comes
that.
out dick swinging every time I see her.
That's a dude. That's a literal dude.
I gotta say this. It is. Someone asked me like, "Oh, you're working out now? Who's your motivation?" I just follow Michelle Obama fan accounts, and I'm like, I want those shoulders. If I can get as broad of shoulders of that and like those kind of biceps, I could take a lot of people out.
Find me a picture of Michelle Obama pregnant. I'll give you $10,000. You can't. You literally cannot. It doesn't exist.
What about Michelle Obama when she's younger?
I mean, but even then, it gets kind of tricky. I don't know. I'm not making any claims. All I know is that it looks like a dude.
It does. It legitimately does. And they always choose ugly people. Their side is always ugly. But I do know that they've been asking Biden about what's going on to explain what's happening. And of course, we have video too, which we'll get ready here in a second, is a real video. This is like not even doctored, by the way. And I want to say that because fact checkers keep taking they think the things I post aren't serious. People on the internet think that I'm joking. I'm not. I'm a very serious person. Everything I do is real and nothing is doublespeak. You guys would know that. You've been around here long enough. We are a very legitimate show, very high quality, a lot of money spent. And we're very, very happy to have this kind of access to footage. But basically, they filmed him as they were asking him questions to explain anything that's going on in the economy. And I believe, Greta, you provided this video for us. Let's play video number 2.
What? This is not the video I sent.
Yeah.
How dare you?
I
sent a better... this is not what I emailed you.
I would like to get that off the screen because I'm trying to have a serious show, and everything you've brought to the table, your scripts, your videos, it's all shit. It's not good. It's not good. It doesn't add to the show. It's not good.
No, it's just bad.
It's just objectively, it's awkward and it's not good.
The same way, I think it was Joseph DeMaster said that every country has the government it deserves. Every country probably also has the podcast, the political podcast that it deserves. I mean, the country's a joke, so why would this show be serious,
Yeah, no, why would it? But that's why we've answered the call, and everyone knows that Slightly Offensive gained a huge reputation for, like, basically being possibly the most legitimate and serious show in the history of shows ever. Mm-hmm. But it's also, by the way, I love how this phrase, it's bad and it's going to get worse. Just so you know, when the Biden administration banned the imports of Russian oil and gas, I love when they show pictures of Russia and they're like, Russia lost Pornhub. Russia lost McDonald's. Coco Chanel won't sell clothes. They can't buy Louis Vuitton purses. Russia's in downfall. A very Western capitalistic, and I would say like crony capitalistic type of even approach of like materialism, even immorality. Like, wow, what are you going to do without porn, Big Macs, and
we're owning
overpriced
you don't
purses.
Get sugar water. You don't get e-dopamine from porn. Haha. And like overnight, it's going to become like Wakanda in Russia. It's just going to be this completely hyper advanced society. It's kind of like when you criticize women. And then they're just like, well, we're not going to have sex with you because you said that we shouldn't vote. And it's just like, okay, like that. What bearing does this have on like my day-to-day life? The same way. Well, you're not going to get to watch Marvel movies because you're trying to take ethnically Russian people and integrate them back into your country. And it's like, who cares?
No, and you know, that's what I'm gonna say. Like, I love this wording that's going on here. It says here in this article specifically that the Biden administration is set to ban imports of Russian oil and gas. Now, they did this already, and they actually did ban them, $700 million a day. And this is where our country's gotten to. It's like, we were already paying higher at the pump, and it's accelerating because we did this without calculating deals with our foreign enemies. And by the way, we're not moral because we're trying to, you know, compensate, which look, I know what it's like to have to compensate for things. You know what I mean? Like when you're lacking and you need to, yeah. And you need to just, I get it. Okay. I get it. We've talked about this. We've got it on the table, but I will say that Biden is like, yeah, here you go, guys. We're going to punish Putin legitimately by making life more expensive for us. And it's your moral duty. It's your moral obligation. Like you watching this right now, you need to pay more. And I watched videos of people that are, you know, live on fixed incomes that are out there saying, I cannot afford to get to work. Not everyone's lived in California where they're used to this kind of stuff. This is like a lot of people live in other states because they can't afford it. I mean, I paid $4.23 for a gallon of gas in my car. And I got to say this, I don't regret buying a V8. I don't regret it. I like to go fast. Boy, fast equals good. Right? Right? Am I right?
Yes.
But think about all the carbon.
John is FaceTiming somebody.
Elijah, why don't you ride a bicycle?
No, I can't. Let's just say this. I can't ride a bike, but I also want to say, like, it makes me upset because at the same time, in every single moment where we're told, hey, here's what's going on in the world, here's what's going on in the world, we end up footing the bill. We end up paying the cost. We spent trillions of dollars, which we haven't even paid off. We haven't even paid off our debt for the Iraq and the Afghanistan war. And almost every conservative that I've talked to, like, they're like, well, Ukraine doesn't deserve to be invaded. Have you never read a book? Like, I don't mean to be rude here. It's like the Ukrainian people are victims. So are the Russian people. The Russian people, the Ukrainian people, Western people are victims of our own
literally,
regime.
Above all else, American people are victims. Like, I'm so tired of this, like, oh, well, we got to go fight these people. Well, we got to fight these people. Like, you know, I'm from Detroit, which is, of course, why I'm a black person expert. And I can go down to Hart Plaza in Detroit and read a plaque of the founding colonies of Detroit in 1701, and I can see 2 or 3 of my ancestors' names on that plaque. They arrived with Cadillac and like settled the city that now exists in a country that is younger than it. And now there are a lot of Ukrainian immigrants who arrived here after World War II, and they're marching around in downtown Detroit demanding that America gets involved in a war to settle their ethnic grudges. And it's like, okay, how American really are you? You know, you're American when you want to ditch your country and you want to come over here because you want to participate in our, you know, materially decadent society, or maybe you want to, just get away from your country for whatever reason. But then the second it's time to like put boots on the ground, your allegiance switches back very quickly. So it's not that America is really your country. It's you're just kind of dwelling here, but you identify more with like your Ukrainian, which isn't even a real country. Sorry, you're like Ukrainian side or whatever. And it just is really upsetting to me how America always has to be the country that like justifies its own existence. Like it is given, it is for granted that Ukraine has a right to exist and they have sovereignty and everything. But we have to actually like make arguments as to why America should exist, or maybe at least not like disappear so quickly. Like, hey, maybe we should cut immigration from 3 million a year down to like maybe 500,000, 1 million. And people are like, oh, are you crazy? We're a nation of immigrants. And it's like our entire ethos is basically like set up to implode on itself. And I think it's just disgusting for people to want to come over here, live here for like one generation, and then try to take money and lives out of American households to go fight in wars in countries that Americans can't even identify on maps, which partially is because, yeah, we're bad at geography. We don't even teach it, but also because it doesn't have any bearing on us. We have no legitimate interest over there, but they're going to do that because they want to settle their ethnic grudges against Russians.
Why don't we teach geography? Because I took geography in 9th grade and we did a lot of that, but I went to private school for those years. And I noticed that basically most Americans couldn't even tell you what the states are on a map.
Yeah.
Like besides maybe like Texas and California at the very most, it's like there seems to be a very odd element of isolation and protectionism, and meaning keep Americans focused in America, but without informing them about anything in the world. So it's an uninformed protectionism, which is basically protecting Americans from knowing the truth about what's really going on in the world. So we can be lied to daily.
Literally, like all of this stuff happened recently enough to where my dad can go, oh yeah, I remember reading about that in the newspaper. Like that is how recent this is, but it's all been memory hold. Like in 1991 with the collapse of the USSR, or 1997 when NATO starts expanding eastward. They start integrating all of the Baltic states into NATO, which they promised Putin they would not do. This is all very recent. But literally, if you stopped the average American and asked them what's going on right now between Ukraine and Russia, they would tell you something approximating the caliber of Kamala Harris's answer, which is there's a big country called Russia and a little country called Ukraine, which isn't even a little country, by the way. And then it just swallowed it up like it's this very just childlike Saturday morning cartoon conception of geopolitics, because they don't understand. They literally, even in 2018, when Ukraine said, okay, we're done with the strategic pact with Russia, we want to join NATO. 2014, the Obama administration legitimately staged a color revolution, soft coup, in a pro-Russian government in Kiev to install a pro-Western, basically puppet state. And it's like all of this has happened so recently, and we just have no knowledge of it. So American education, the right always attacks it like, oh, it's indoctrinating people to be communists. True, but it's also generally designed to keep people stupid. I mean, history is so important, but all we learn is World War II, civil rights, slavery. That is the entire American history education, and then like founding fathers, but that is it. There is nothing else, and it certainly doesn't transcend beyond our borders. Well, it does in Europe with the whole World War II thing, because that's the worst thing to ever happen. But other than that, we have no historical knowledge. And so that paves the way for a population that buys in to what they do know, which is the Saturday morning cartoons, the Marvel movies, where there's just a bad guy and he's just gone crazy. It blows my mind that like when he went downstairs to pick up the Chick-fil-A, that driver like probably woke up this morning and got dressed and ate some food, and he drove, and there was all these other people in traffic, and all of these rational adults, purportedly, half of them probably actually think that the world's problems are caused by bad guys who are crazy. They're just insane. And me driving my Toyota Camry, I know better than them. And if I were in charge of Russia, well, this wouldn't be happening. It's like the hubris is just disgusting to me.
Yeah, and I also think that there's an element of this that people don't think about, which is what is our culture and our identity? What is our inheritance as a people, ultimately speaking? Like, okay, yes, Russia being Eurocentric, it is in different ways. It's ideologically, juxtaposed to Western Europe, especially in a modern era. But it's like, we have been given a gift down from parents to children that have been preserved and fought for. And you have to realize not only what are we inheriting, but what are we passing on to our kids? And currently, if the West detaching itself from the East and showing its dominance is the equivalent of materialism and fast food, then what is it that we've preserved and what is it that we're passing down? And when the East is like, it's not like, hey, when we're going out from them, their birth rates are falling. Like we're detaching. They're not gonna have kids anymore. They're not gonna have hospitals. They're not gonna be able to survive or whatever. It's just like they can't wear designer clothing and have gay parades. I don't know if we're really preserving something great, which is my interesting critiques on conservatism that we disagree on sometimes, is that I want to live in a world where there is something great to preserve. It just seems at the point of implosion, perhaps, because it's been so far gone. And I want to say a huge shout out. If you're listening right now, maybe you're listening in the car or wherever you're around, and you're looking for a good pair of headphones. You don't want something that breaks the bank, but also you don't want something that hurts your ears. You want a good sound quality that is discreet, that looks amazing, is stylish, and has a choice of colors, which is why I got to talk to you about Raycon. So obviously I have a pair of Raycon. I love them. I think Aldo has my Raycons right now. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because he borrowed them. I don't know who did. I think he has them right now. And I have the blue ones, the little tiny ones, and they're really nice. They fit in the ear. They're great for exercising, especially if you already have another pair of headphones, maybe even some more expensive ones, and you're looking for a second pair. When they die or you can't find them or misplace them and you're looking for something and you're going to get a gift, even if you're someone who loses them, make sure you pick up a pair of these, a couple and a spare for a friend. Right now, Slightly Offensive listeners can get 15% off their Raycon order at buyraycon.com/offensive. That's BUYRAYCON.com/offensive to save 15% on Raycons. You can get over-the-ear headphones, you can get the black ones, you can get the blue ones, you can get the white ones, and ultimately, guys, don't break your bank, and also make sure that you listen to Fresh Beats, podcasts, and even the show at buyraycon.com/offensive to save 15%, BUYRAYCON.com/offensive. No, but I'm going to say, it's like, aren't you guys glad, when all of this being said, that you're paying more at the pump? Like that's the motive, is like, you're just to be happy that you're paying more for gas because it's helping the cross-dressing, allegedly bisexual, which I'm not shaming him. There's a lot of promiscuity in the leadership. But I mean, an actor, like a literal actor, a scam actor country that is run by the U.S. illegitimate regime, And of course, you should feel bad for the Ukrainian people. I do, that they were duped into trying to join the West and thinking they could join NATO without a cataclysmic war. The fact that they were deceived, it's like, don't you feel bad? Yeah, oh, the government lied to its people and they ended up in a war that they thought wasn't going to happen because their government lied to them with state-run media. Oh, yes, I do feel bad knowing Ukrainians. It is horrible. I feel bad for the Russian soldiers invading Ukraine. I feel bad for the Ukrainian soldiers fighting Russia. It's a shitty situation and it's not good. But it's like also in the end, it's not our problem anymore. We need to let it go.
Yeah.
And Russia's been very clear on its terms. And it's like in the meantime, all this is going to do is going to completely destabilize the world. And it makes me wonder if they're glad about that, if they're happy about this.
Yeah, and it's like us taking this position on the conflict doesn't mean we're apathetic or that we don't understand it's bad. But you know, my mom always used to tell us this growing up. She used to say that you have to guard your heart, which I think is derived from Proverbs. And it's like you do. You have to guard your heart because ultimately, it's not facts and logic which compel you to take action. It's like emotion, right? It's like consciously choosing to care about something. And if you are allowing yourself to have an unguarded heart where anybody that shows you a sad piece of video or a sad photograph can compel you to take action for whichever cause they like, that's a problem. So it's not that we're watching the same footage you are and we're just saying, oh, I don't care about that. It's like we do care, but you really do have something of an emotional bandwidth that you can spend. And they would like you to just sit there and stare at the screen all day and look at all the sad things happening and literally like suck your life force out of you. But you just can't allow for that to happen because they're trying to manipulate you, which is why if you turn on CNN, or actually Fox News is the real perpetrator of this, you will see just quintessential wartime propaganda. But if you look at like Vladimir Putin's position, he can articulate it in 2 minutes. He can cite the history. And I mean, it all makes perfect sense. But we don't have that case because we're in the wrong. And if we start asking questions about why we're actually over there, that opens up cans of worms about, you know, our intelligence operations in Ukraine, different things going on there. We just don't want to do that. So that's why we have to run the propaganda. Well, it's just bad things happening and he's just a madman and he wants to blow up the whole world. And the American public is basically stupid enough to buy into that.
I just want to say, choice of words, blowing up the planet. It has come to my attention in the moment. I don't know if I'm the only one in here, but it smells pretty bad in here. And I just want to say, John, are you smelling what I'm smelling? I'm not trying to be rude to anyone in the room.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought that are we cutting it or?
Yeah, we can stop the film because, okay. All right, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Nobody's mad. We're all humans. We all do stuff. We're talking about gas. Everybody does it. There's children's books. Everybody poops. I'm going to be honest. It smells like somebody had some spillage in here.
Is gone through here?
It smells like somebody shat their pants. And I'm not accusing anyone. I'm not saying anything. And I'm going to say it is not coming from that side. And I don't believe, I won't believe it's,
Why is everyone looking at me?
Look, I don't care. I literally don't care. I just want to know, just admit it. It's not a big deal.
Okay, fine. Okay. It was me. Are you happy? Is that what you wanted to hear?
I'm just going to say that this is, the weird thing is I literally had one thing at the beginning of the show. I said, you can come on if you do not make this a shitty show. And while you held up one end of the agreement, like most globalists do, technically you didn't make it a shitty show, but it literally smells like you shit on the show. And it's
Change is coming whether you like it or not. It appears I have exceeded my own CO2 budget.
Yeah, I was like, those greenhouse gases that you're emitting might have just been a little bit more than that. There might be a little bit of waste along with them. And I'm just going to say, I invite you on my show. Not only do you not perform well, but the biggest shitstorm is happening right now in your pants. And I genuinely, it's not funny. This isn't good.
How dare you?
This isn't funny.
How dare you?
Aiden, we have our junior intern here. Can you please come here? Can you please escort Greta out of the room, please, and just help her get cleaned up?
Hello, Aiden. How big is your carbon footprint?
She wants to change the planet, but she needs her diaper changed. It's disgusting.
Oh, look at me.
It's very. Oh, you're still plugged in with headphones. You need to take those off, please. You've disrupted enough. Okay, thank you. Bye. Thank you. Well, that was fucking weird. What was that? I'm so confused right now. Okay, we'll just jump back. We'll go right here to we'll start right here with the transition into, what the fuck was that? Did she shit her pants on the fucking screen? I've never had that happen on the show before. That was so crazy. Okay, well, obviously we'll have to cut that out. That was weird. I'll just come in right here with green energy, automation, kill switch.
Right.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, give me like 5 more seconds.
an autistic bitch shit in the studio. Wait till I tell Tyler about that one. Okay, okay. Green energy. So speaking of green energy, as we were on the topic, obviously what's going on in the war that's interesting is that we are seeing this being used as a test run to shut down an entire nation's economy from the West, right? There's a total move in a direction to remove commerce from the country. The problem is Russia, while their ruble is seeing devaluation, which is normal in this kind of means when they're removing themselves from the American dollar. I love watching people say that we're spending $10 for gas, $70 for beef, acting like they're the only country's currency that's devaluing itself and losing money in the war. Like, dog, wake up, smell the shit in the air in the studio, and understand that they're not the only country that's suffering. And the problem is they're just lying to us, being like, yeah, our devaluation is out of moral superiority. Their devaluation is because they're meanie fart faces and Putin's a bad man.
Yeah, and they're going to totally shoot themselves in the foot because it's like what they're communicating is that if we don't like your politics or your like operations, we're going to like cut you off from the US dollar and trading with it basically. The problem with that is that the value of the US dollar, because it's a fiat currency, is basically predicated upon two things. One, how much like operating the volume there is, how much it's traded, and then two, the perceived, efficiency of our military. Both of those things are not looking too good right now because they're basically telling Russia, we're cutting you off. We're going to basically isolate you economically and purport you to be this like North Korean-esque rogue state, and we just can't control you. But then you look at like China, they're allied, India, they're in support. There's 3 billion people who I guess are going to start maneuvering away from trading with the US dollar. Okay, then you've got failed military operations in Afghanistan. No one thinks our military is competent. We're airing ads, I have 2 moms and blah, blah, blah. And it's like now we're doing all this stuff in Ukraine. We're talking about maybe a no-fly zone, maybe allowing for, jets and weapons to come in. And it's like we're flirting with the prospect of World War III because we want there to be pride parades in Kiev. And serious countries don't really entertain things like that. So they're going to start building or perhaps further developing infrastructure to move away from that dollar. And America is going to learn what it's like to not be a superpower in the first time in 100 years. We're going to have to move away from this sort of a unilateral approach to a more bilateral or trilateral approach with different countries.
Almost like the Trilateral Commission that they've been talking about for so long and bringing us together. But what's weird is our appeal to them, like you said, is like, well, I love how it's like, you don't want to be a part of the West. Right now, our battles in the West, not only are we fighting Putin, by the way, this is how you know Putin's evil and we're good. Not only are we fighting Putin, hey, what are you doing here?
Oh, there was a young kid out there.
Yeah, Aiden, our
Aiden.
Can you cut this again?
He was cleaning up
We'll start back.
what I think was shit.
Who?
There's a young guy, Aiden, working
Yeah,
here, and
he's
he
our
was
new intern.
cleaning up what I think. It smells really bad. It smells like in this particular chair.
Shit and ew.
What is it? What is
Wait. Stop.
This is
Stop.
in the chair.
Stop it right now. Was that on the chair?
Yes, that's definitely poop. That's 100% poop. Why is there poop in this chair?
First of all, Chris, you're on the nighttime show. This is the wrong show. So you were invited on You Are Here. This is not... Okay, first of all, you were literally eating feces.
This is 100% poop. Confirmed.
The moral of this story, if you can go to my deadpan.
On my jeans now.
The moral of this story is that life is one bad skit. And no matter what, in the end, no matter how hard we try, nobody's laughing and it ends with somebody eating shit. And we wanted to teach you guys that today. And that was just a deep lesson in reality. And we went through a lot. I want to give a huge shout out to Chrissy Mayer, who played Greta Thunberg. If you didn't realize this whole time, that was Chrissy Mayer. It's the same person. Congratulations. Give me some confetti. Chrissy Mayer. Can you center yourself in your shot a little bit? I mean, that's just, yeah, there you go.
Of course.
That was really good. And guess what? As John Doyle, The host of Heck Off Commie, John Doyle. Congratulations. Give him some confetti. That was really good. Excellent performance. Really good stuff. And I played myself as Rel. Aiden played himself. It was a really, really good bit. And if you guys, I'm really, really proud of ourselves.
Well done.
I promised you guys only the best of this show. We would never bring you anything less than C- level comedy. Sometimes it's at the D list, but we still place it.
All that matters is to be tried.
No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't a joke. I'm just uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm playing a version of myself that is 10% more uncomfortable than usual.
I'm just kidding. She literally ate feces, and I'm trying to make it. I'm trying not to get banned because it's gross. She's into kinky stuff. Well, welcome to the show, Christy. I know you got shows coming up. We were talking about the fact that we are baiting Russia with the notion. Well, that was actually. What does that taste like, by the way? What even was that? Actually,
It's chocolate.
Oh, okay.
Now it really looks like poop.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know that was happening. I did not know that was happening, and that was the weirdest part. Was like she was supposed to leave, and then she came back and sucked Greta Thunberg's poop off her fingers. We promise you nothing but a serious show. We promise you nothing but the highest quality entertainment. She just ate eco-friendly poo.
Zero emissions, very recyclable.
Tasted like plant matter.
It did.
And
it tasted
autism.
like Boca burgers and insects.
Tasted like vaccines.
Vaccines and autism.
No, but I want to say this. So speaking of autistic, Florida and Texas are finally like, hey, maybe it's not good that we chop our kids' balls off. Maybe like the brand of the Western civilization that we're exporting to the world and we're facilitating domestically may be unattractive. Maybe people like Putin, not only who tried to join the West, but was banned, by the way, and vilified and made a villain. Even though he is, I always say this, he is a mob leader. But the key thing is he's a gang member in a world of organized crime. Like, there's no such thing really as like a really good country. Maybe the closest to that war-like, you could say Switzerland until you find out they've been funding all the wars. Both sides, by the way, look back a few wars ago.
You need a mob leader. That's the only way you get taken seriously. Like look at the mob families. Like people were afraid to fuck with them.
I know, you just went straight from the poop fingers to like hot takes on Putin. Putin fingers in your mouth, Putin out the takes. I'm really proud of that. That was very good stuff. John is uncomfortable, as always. Welcome back to the show, John Doyle.
Thank you.
No, but I want to say this. So obviously there's these fake bills that are out there. Don't say gay bill, protect trans kids bill. There's been a lot of amazing fights. But like, if you look at this video number 4, we can play it as B-roll if you can. While they're saying that they want to reunite the West, we have like teachers and politicians walking through schools in Florida, in Texas, having kids in the most fake sign of reverence, being like, we just want our kids to all be homosexual. And it's really kind of a weird thing that adults have gotten so interested in teenagers and children's sex lives. The fact that we've normalized in society teenagers having a sex life is also interesting. But it's like, this is what they see. There's no way that you can tell me that we need to fight in a war in Ukraine so that kids in Moscow can do this. Like, they don't even need to be doing this in America.
Yeah, I'm not willing to fight for that. Nor actually am I willing to pay even 10 cents more for gas for that. Actually, I would be willing, though, on the other hand, to fight on the opposing side and pay more for gas if that were the case, but it just isn't.
Well, but speaking of gas, like Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, right? Apparently his husband, I think this is, okay, I could have my facts wrong, so it might not be his husband. We'll just pretend for all intents and purposes that it is his husband. Yeah. Do you know that Pete Buttigieg, our Transportation Secretary, who's largely in charge of what's going on, and our energy sector, the other guy too, this is what his husband is up to. Have you seen this, guys?
No.
This is what our sitting members of Congress, not Congress, of the State Department, this is what they're doing. John, I don't know if you've seen this, but this is for real, and this is what Putin's saying our government is promoting. This is government officials promoting this. Let's watch this.
All right. I pledge my heart. To the rainbow. Of the not-so-typical gay camp. One camp. Full of pride. Indivisible. With affirmation and equal rights for all. Watch your heads.
The flag wave.
So boring.
Notice how the flag typically only has 6 stripes, too.
What do you mean? Which is not the BIPOC flag or what?
Well, the
rainbow, yeah.
Yeah, the traditional pride flag only has 6 stripes because the rainbow has 7 stripes, and the rainbow was created by God as a symbol of like beauty in his creation. And because the devil can only pervert instead of like perpetuate beauty, that's why they have 6 stripes instead of 7. And 7 is, God's number, 6 is Satan's number. So,
well, it's also just weird too, because it's like, you know, if you have to have a flag, your own organization or your own flag for like a sort of movement like that, don't worry, someone's calling. I'm just producing a show. It's not a big deal. Just, I mean, someone like.
There's only the second weirdest interruption.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I hope that got cut out of the show because that was weird. It'd be embarrassing. But I was gonna say it is so kind of weird. That's like, yeah, we're going like, man, we're the good guys, and that's meanwhile what like this is your husbands do. This is also a weird thing. You go on maternity leave, take shirtless pictures like you gave birth, while your country has the largest backlog and supply chain crisis, and then you're saying Russia is like so evil that they don't deserve Happy Meals, and then on top of that, you're like, look at us. Here's what a model family looks like. And you have a gay camp for kids. Do kids need a gay camp? Is that a thing? No. I've never heard of this till now. I didn't even know those existed.
No.
Nobody ever taught me how to masturbate. I turned out great. I'm still learning every day, to be honest. This looks like a big, like, you watch this video, it looks like a big, like, what do they call it? The Munchausen by proxy. It's like a lot of grown women taking credit for like accumulating gay kids in their lives. I think it's ultimately to feed the egos of the adults that keep this going.
Yeah, no, but you know what I'm saying though? It's like, dude, bro, look within. Look within. I know there's some gay people I know that I do like, and they're normal people. They're not gay people. They're people who happen to have same-sex attraction. Is there arguments to be made morally or in Christianity about this?
Like, look at that guy.
Yes, but this kid is not healthy. That is not a normal kid.
And look at even that guy. I mean, he's not a man who happens to be gay. He is a gay man. That means his entire identity revolves around the fact that he likes having anal sex. And he is hanging out with children, and he's trying to teach them about that lifestyle. And it's dressed up with colors, and they have songs, and they have parades. But fundamentally, what that is about is anal sex with other men. That's what that is. And the same way that a straight couple creates more straight people by having children, gay couples create more gay people by grooming children.
Oof.
That's literally always the cycle. Find me one gay person who has not been molested or have some form of adjacent mental illness or trauma. It doesn't exist. They even admit this themselves. If you look on TikTok, they'll make little jokes like, you know, put a finger down if you have a good relationship with your father. Put a finger down if you haven't been molested. And like all the gay people do it. And it's like a joke to them because they know it's all true.
What I think is really weird too about this is because like obviously, Chrissy, you of all people have a lot of different friends with different backgrounds and stuff. And I think there's a middle ground between like, obviously, what's his name? What's the black guy from Turning Point again?
Rob Smith.
So, okay, yeah, Rob Smith talking about like, you know, the phrase gay Christian or whatever, you know, like, if he wanted to make an argument that somebody could, you know, struggle or have to work things out and love God and try to, you know, battle things, people have their own issues. To say that like, you know, God is just wanting everyone to live this homosexual lifestyle, objectively untrue. It's not in the Bible, and it really does a disservice to certain organizations too when, you know, when they let sort of like logical fallacies like that be put on the screen. Dude, just go be gay and like just. Could be a black guy. You're black. No one's like, hey, Rob's black. It's like, you are a black guy. If you're gay and that's what you are and that's what you accept your life, then go do it. But why do you got to go on stage and be like, you know, black gay Christianity? What the hell does that even mean? I'm even against black liberation theology. Not even like that, where it's like black Christianity. What the hell does that mean? So it's like we serve the same God. But in the same time with this stuff, it is interesting that our culture is like, I'm not joking. This is why I'm bringing this up. The argument of why Russia is bad, we can no longer say that the West is better because we don't arrest protesters that go against the regime. It's happening in the West. Specifically, we saw that in Canada, and the U.S. helped with it. Before you say it didn't happen in the U.S., we had arrested hairdressers like in Texas. Okay, we are capable of these things. If you say it's because they're a fascist police state. Have you not been living the last couple years? Okay, and then if they go, oh well, and he goes and invades countries without UN Security Council clearance. Okay, well, we do that too. So where are they bad? They're bad because they don't have gay camps for mentally ill children. They're bad because they don't push degeneracy and this idea. And it's like, and we're good because we have gay black Christianity. And it's like, which doesn't exist, by the way, but I'm also saying like, we're basically saying you have not accepted our fallen form of Western society. We are perversion of Christianity. You have not accepted that, so you are bad. We've created our own religion of moral superiority when it's like, they have same problems. Like, I want to get into this. We talked about this off camera before, but like, Russia isn't a perfect country. They have the same STD rates, issues with HIV, et cetera, like any country or developing or developed country. They have the same problems. They have humans. They have sins. They have issues. But are you going to tell me that like what Russia really needs right now is Pete Buttigieg's husband? Like,
in Russia, STD has you.
He's literally kidnapping children. Like that's literally child sacrifice. I feel so badly. You know, there was a picture not only with him, but or even the way they recreate it. I mean, he and his husband were sitting in like a bed, cradling 2 babies. And it's like, this is supposed to be cute and wholesome. I feel so badly for those children because they're never going to get like a hug from their mother after like a bad day. You know, it's one thing to make the argument, which by the way, this whole like, oh, adoption's so bad. There are waiting. I think the ratio is like 36-1 for couples who want to adopt 2 babies. So like they're cranking these things out and they're shipping them right off to like, 2-parent households. There's even waiting lists for children who have Down syndrome to be adopted, which isn't to say that they're less desirable, but just that, comes with a higher responsibility of being a parent. And it's like, we're giving these kids to gay couples, not because it's in their best interest, because we know it's not, but because they want to have that experience of like, oh, we're parents and we have 2 dads. And it's just like, that's just so unfair to the child.
And
There's
that agency
Can you go
can
to my
say,
screen
oh,
while
we're
they
woke,
talk?
we're inclusive.
Yeah. Like when I see those pictures, like, oh, we're a family too. Like they're trying to assert it, like almost as though like obviously I would see a normal family and I'd just be like, oh, it's a family, but you have to like prove
Force
this to me.
It's
Here,
like
put
an
on the
FU.
screen. Put my
Something
screen on the
deeply
screen.
wrong about that
This
to
is
me.
really nice. Aw.
Look at how they're smirking, like they think they're getting away with something
Yeah.
too.
I just don't understand
They
the
have a
hospital
secret.
bed maternity photos. Like
Ugh.
he's a guy, you're like holding the baby. I've never seen a picture of a guy laying in the bed as if he just gave birth. That's so weird. Like they're both laying down and I don't understand it. It's like breaking. Pete Buttigieg is so useless and adds nothing that no one knew he was gone. Everyone's like, wait a second. There's a giant crisis at the port of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
No one's heard from Pete Buttigieg. Just like, when have you heard from Fauci recently? These people just go
Where'd
out
he
for
go?
weeks and
Yeah.
you just don't know what happened to them. That's why they're able to get plastic surgery. Honestly, Nancy Pelosi, it's like they just go away. You don't hear from them. The media acts like they're not important, creates crises. Nancy Pelosi comes back with a facelift. I tint my eyebrows one time. World War III starts.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry I don't have the ability to work for a corrupt institution that gives me time off so I can come back, serve the cabal, and sacrifice your kids to Moloch. I don't have that liberty.
I think they look great.
Yeah,
Elijah.
if America was free to rule over the rest of the world, it would literally look like overweight, like grotesquely obese kindergarten teachers teaching little Chinese boys and little Arabic boys about anal sex and Moloch. Like wherever the American flag flies, that is what we see at the embassies. We see the Pride flag, we see the Black Lives Matter flag. Like that's the end goal. So say what you will about Vladimir Putin. Oh, he's a dictator. You don't live under a dictatorship. You don't live under tyranny. Oh, he kills journalists. That doesn't happen here. I mean, literally any criticism that you could have of Putin and Russia exists here in greater magnitude, except that they're materially less well off than we are. But even that, I mean, you look at the gas prices and everything. If gas goes up, everything
It's
goes up.
$1.80 US right now per gallon in Russia.
Yeah. So whatever we have now to wave our finger at them, that's going to go away pretty quickly. The bottom line is that Russia, of course, is not perfect. But at the end of the day, Russia and China are nationalist and relatively traditionalist countries. And you'll say, well, they have higher abortion rates and they have higher HIV rates. That's happening in spite of Russia, right? Their government is not trying to orchestrate that from the top down like ours is. Our government has 2 official policies right now. One is official and has been for a while. One's on the way that are some of the most like grotesque examples of tyranny I could ever imagine. And you don't see this in Russia. You don't see this in China. One, it is the current position of the West, whether that's in the United States or Europe, to replace its native populations with mass immigration. That is the official policy. They don't have that in Russia. So maybe they're all drunk, maybe they all are getting STDs, but at least they know that their descendants are more or less going to inherit the same country. Maybe it's a crappy country, materially speaking, but it's more or less the same country, whereas it is the official policy of America since 1965 and of Europe, broadly speaking, to replace the native populations with mass immigration from the third world. Secondly, the policy that's being worked on being totally implemented is where the state can say, well, you're not agreeing with your child's gender identity, so we actually have the authority to usurp you as the parents and know what is best for the child, and we can come and save that child, we can come and take them out of that bad situation. Which, anytime they talk about the child consenting, obviously it's because they want to rape your kids, but it's also because they like, the child can never consent because it's a child. Something is always going to be fueling that. And if it's not the parent, it's going to be the media, it's going to be teachers. Someone's always going to be talking into their ear, telling them, oh, this is what you need to be doing. So when they're saying we want the child to be able to consent, that's just them wanting control over the child, to take that away from you. And if you don't have country, you don't have land, you don't have heritage, and not even going back, you don't even have a future, you don't have forward, you don't have your descendants, what left do you have? So yeah, Russia sucks, but you know what? As long as they are destabilizing and serving as the biggest impediment on the global stage to a satanic evil empire that is the United States, they have my full support. God bless Vladimir Putin. He's literally, I'm not even kidding, I think he's a godsend. That is my unironic opinion. Yeah, and you know who else I'm rooting for? Xi Jinping. Any criticism you have of China, same thing, worse in the West. But he is a strong man. And actually his country, it was theorized that they could make them more democratic and they could make them more liberal by integrating them into the global markets throughout the 1970s to the 1990s. Totally backfired. There was one guy who said this would probably happen. I think his name was Sam Huntington. He said, no, wait a minute. What you might actually end up doing inadvertently is actually economically empowering a very hyper-masculine, hyper-traditionalist country, and then they would actually be competing on the global stage against this more liberal, gay countries. That's literally what's happened. So the only reason Russia is able to do what they're doing right now is because China is strong enough militarily and economically now to be able to back them up. So yeah, God bless China. God bless Russia. I don't care. I'm tired of pretending that's not the correct take.
That was the best bit ever. As John Doyle. John Doyle, give him confetti of color. That was so good.
Ping pals.
That was really
Ping
good.
pals.
And that was on the teleprompter. And also as Elijah Schaefer in shocked boomer reaction. That was like, what, do you want me to do it again? Like this.
I'm going to get in trouble
Yeah,
for
like,
that one.
I know, but that's the shocked boomer reaction when someone says something off script. Or on script, I should say, which we pre-wrote that to shock people to let them know what could happen if they heard the truth. And then also Chrissy Mayer as Bimbo 1.
Thank you. Wow, it's come a long way since Bimbo number 3.
You know what else I found out too to confirm that? Because I just had this feeling. I was like, no Russian ever called me incel. No Russian ever called me a threat to democracy, a white nationalist, No, they never tried to get the federal intelligence to come after me for going to a school board meeting. So I just kind of had this feeling. And then I looked and I saw that they had seized some officers' manuals from Russian military. And printed in the manual says literally, the Russian army is the last stand against a global satanic empire.
Wow.
They know this too. That makes me so happy. So yeah.
Well, it is a take that's a little too hot for Cheetos, but I will say that. But I understand, and I would take a little bit of a backward pull from saying, I don't know if it's that God bless them, but I think it's may the best man win. Meaning I trust God for the future of the world, and I trust His plan, and I know that part of His plan ends up being that the one world government succeeds, and that there is this universality. And I understand this. People go, well, why would that be part of His plan? Well, it's because it's the final judgment. Just like the wickedness when He flooded the world, He wouldn't flood the world again. It's like it progressively gets wicked. That once they do this, which by the way, it appears, which we'll go over next week, the new WEF's plan for the Mark of the Beast that they release, amazing. You'll probably be around for that. It's so good.
Actually, you should have me on You Are Here live so I can argue with the super chatters about the Russia thing, because I think they're not going to like that. And I should be there to defend myself in person, I believe.
Sid's not really reading the super chats anymore.
Oh, really?
We're not doing it much.
Oh. Well, Keaton.
Yeah, you guys didn't read that many the other day.
I'm not going to get into it. Just I don't know. That's all I was going to say. But I will say that we do read some. I read them though when I get home. I do. I genuinely do read them. And I was reading them last night, and I read every super chat, and I laugh because you guys are so funny. But we're not doing as much on the show.
Is that unreasonable? My take on the Russia-China?
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. And I'm not saying that because look at this. Just look at this. You weigh in. You weigh in. So it's like obviously we're like taking the example here of like Russia, Ukraine war, Netflix, TikTok shutdown operations in Russia. Like this is like we're
a reward.
Well, yeah. So it is, right?
Yeah, it's like they're gonna just focus.
I mean,
can they shut down TikTok in this country?
Yeah, that's what it's like. It's like maybe we should do it here. But at the same time, we're like, man, we're moral. This is what we tell the U.S. It's like we're moral. Look what we're doing. We're shutting down Netflix because Netflix is, what defines Western civilization. At the same time, we are literally right here. Netflix asks a judge to block prosecution over controversial Cuties film. Specifically, if we can go to my screen, this is from theblaze.com, which by the way, John, I've heard great things about this news site. I just heard of it the other day. Not getting paid to plug it. I just like theblaze.com apparently has great news stories for all ages for people who love America. Theblaze.com. This was not an ad. I've heard you've liked theblaze.com.
Yeah. I was paid by Bang Energy to not plug them though. I have to be
yeah. No, but attorneys for Netflix filed a complaint in federal court arguing the prosecution accusing them of spreading child CP over their film Cuties would be a violation of the First Amendment right.
Thanks, liberals. Thanks, Enlightenment. We have the First Amendment in the Constitution, and now they're using that. They expanded free expression. Now it's like literally an argument for like CP.
Literally.
This country's so sick. And see, that's the other thing. It's like, oh, but come on, John, where's your patriotism? It's like this country in its current form, again, has been orchestrated from the top down to become the sickest, most disgusting country. It is an abomination. This country is fat, it is sick, it is killing itself, and like anything that serves as a challenge to that power structure that has destroyed the most like wonderful and glorious nation to ever exist, yeah, I'm going to root for. It could be, actually, no, I'm not going to say that, but you get what I'm saying. You know, it's just like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I think it really is that simple.
Yeah, and right now, guys, with inflation at an all-time high and with the dollar being devalued, something that you need to know about is diversifying your assets in hard bullion, getting something that you can see, touch, and feel that can't be destroyed by an EMP. Maybe if you're at the center of a nuclear blast, there could be some melting, perhaps, but thanks to a little-known section of the IRS tax code, you can legally move your IRA or 401k into precious metals with no tax implications or penalties. This is by getting with gold and silver. Obviously, with your investments, you've seen the volatility and other types of investments in the stock market, in crypto. Why not invest today? To get started on protecting your savings with gold in a tax-sheltered account, request a free info kit from Birch Gold by texting the word offensive, OFFENSIVE, to 989-898. Now, if you're like me, all I know about gold is gold be blingin' and silver be hot, but I don't really know much about investing in it. And I didn't actually until I got this comprehensive 20-page kit that revealed how gold and silver can protect your savings and how you can move your IRA or 401k out of a volatile stock and bond and into precious metals IRA. There's zero cost, zero obligation to request this info, so why wait? Text offensive to the number 989-898. Again, request this free info kit on gold now by texting offensive, OFFENSIVE, to 989-898. Check it out today. John, I'm going to say this though. Like you were saying, it is also hard too in the midst of this. I don't know if people know this. It's not talked about as much, but we are completely ignoring the fact that there are neo-Nazi, which is different than Nazi, by the way. Neo-Nazis are pagan for the most part, and they have an ideology that sort of has a disregard for human life in some ways. In some countries, there are all tons of different groups. There's tons of different groups, but specifically the Azov battalion in Russia, in Ukraine, there is a certain understanding where a lot of them use pagan symbolism. They're not necessarily the same thing as people who believe in God. There's kind of a lot of offshoots of these more like far right or extreme right groups. I don't think there's anything I've heard about more other than men being the cause of problem and patriarchy, of like how the greatest threat to civilization are specifically neo-Nazis, the KKK, white nationalists. I condemn them all, like Trump said after Charlottesville. I would say that I have not heard anything more in the last 4 or 5 years before COVID than just like, this is the problem, is white nationalists, it's white supremacists, it's neo-Nazis. Am I wrong? Am I the only one who was hearing that?
Yeah, they wanted to associate all that with Trump and anybody who voted for him, anybody who was there on January 6th. It's just anything they want to shut down, they'll slap with one of those labels.
Well, yeah, and what's crazy is if you see this image here, this is absolutely insane. So Getty Images, very authoritative bank of photos, John. Ukrainian servicemen help evacuate civilians near Irpin, Ukraine. 3 civilians were killed as Russian mortar rounds landed, striking a route used by civilians fleeing southeast towards as John has corrected me, it's not Kyiv, it's Kiev.
Yeah.
It's Kiev, yeah.
Yeah. And we see this and it's like, yes, there's the green hat and there's the Ukrainian soldier. They got the flag on their jacket. I have the flag in my bio. I have every flag actually, John, in my bio now. I have a Russia flag, Ukraine flag, Israel flag, Germany flag. I think I'm going to add the gay flag and the anti-gay flag together.
You got to get both sides.
That's what I'm saying. I want to always have both sides. Both sides are always, hey, you got to listen to both sides. There's no one's ever right in the world. It's, hey, come on. Have you heard of the other side? But also in Ukraine, definitely they're right. But in other things like on sexuality and nationalism and immigration, it's kind of like it's too confusing to understand who's right and wrong. But in Ukraine, not speaking of masturbation, I'm a Zelensky sexual. It's like you should not only like his policies, which you don't know what they are, and we won't talk about the fact that he wants free abortion, the fact that he wants to legalize prostitution, bring drugs in the country, gambling, etc. And also they push for the split of the Orthodox Church, actually fighting a religious war and secularizing their own church. Anyway, on the side note from that, which is really cool. I'm from the West. I love that. I'm wearing my Gucci shoes and stuff, and I'm eating burgers. America. There's something interesting that you noticed, John, on his outfit. There's other than the Ukraine patch, there was something interesting on there. There's a spider web or something like that. What did you notice?
Oh, doesn't he have a special pin?
Doesn't he have like a neo-Nazi symbol?
Yeah, and the only reason why you knew that is because I showed you on Wikipedia. John, somebody doesn't know this kind of stuff, and that's fine, and I educated him. And I'll tell you why I educated you, though.
Because you tweeted it out like 2 months ago, and then you got in trouble because you didn't know what it was, and then you sent it to me. I was like, yeah, you can't do that.
Well, yeah, the point is like, okay, let's just be honest. So I shared this meme, And apparently that's what this is behind this guy.
It's like a Keith Haring thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, like honestly, what would you think this is? Like, how would you ever associate that with like Nazism?
No, it's like abstract art, sort of.
Okay, the face masks should have given it away to me. But to be fair, it is COVID, and so people wear masks, and maybe he's warning people that people could die and become skeletons, and he's trying to grill. I just shared this because everyone knows the McCloskeys are epic, and I just wanted to grill. I didn't know that there was a sonorite. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was about. And I'm going to tell you, the internet lost their mind. There was articles written about this. Everyone was like, dude, even if you shared a meme by accident, this makes you a racist, anti-Semite that deserves to die. And then the army in Ukraine literally has sonorids and swastikas on their cars. I've seen the pictures, not from obscure websites, but from Getty. And that's okay, because as long as you're a Nazi to fight Putin, you're good. But if you share a meme on accident, you should burn in hell. Also, maybe you can redeem yourself. I should go start a gay camp or something. I should go wave a flag and turn some kids into transgenders and redeem myself.
With the red and sonorad.
Yeah, hey kids, you want to be gay? Everyone's like, woohoo! Hey, you want to protect your country from... I'm going to stop there. But I will say, John, it's the level of bullshit that I don't know what to do with this. And, you know, you being somebody who understands this stuff more than anyone, bullshit meaning of like people with bullshit, I just want to know your take.
I just think it is bullshit. I mean, these are the people who, for the last 70 years, have constructed a propaganda apparatus that has said that there's nothing worse in the world to be than a Nazi. Like, okay, cool. But then they pin that on anything that is basically a challenge to the regime. You know, if you are a nationalist, well, that's what Hitler thought too. So you're like Hitler. You want people's countries to base it. Well, I guess that would be nationalism as well. But it's just like, yeah, and that's why that exists too, because the greatest threat to the globalists is, of course, the nationalists. And if you have nationalist countries, you can't have globalism. That's why they don't like Putin. That's why they don't like China. That's why they don't like Iran, largely speaking. Not that they're necessarily like these real orthodox nationalists, but, you know, anything that's a threat to their global system, they're going to paint in a bad light. And that's why, even though you have been taught from infancy that the worst thing you can be in the world is a Nazi, well, Nazis don't exist anymore. I mean, they have no political representation. No one takes them seriously. There are, though, neo-Nazi militias and battalions, and the president of Ukraine has enabled them to basically wreak havoc in the ethnically Russian parts of the country and in the eastern parts, because the enemy to him is Putin and is the nationalists in the country and people who are strong and resisting that system. So just think about that what they taught you was the worst thing in the world from birth. That's not that bad in comparison to really what they hate, which is countries who want to be left alone. And you know that better than anybody else. If you've gone through the last 2 years of the American experience, you know that above all else, they hate people who want to be left alone. You will bake the cake. You will have your kid go to the drag queen story hour, and you will die in Kiev fighting for pride parades.
Yeah, for neo-Nazis. Are you voting for the neo-Nazis?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I'm not going to get too into this, but it's like, it's really hard to make the justification that the good guys are Nazis. Like, it's like, and
no, I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah.
This Hitler guy, he's a jerk. No,
he was mean.
Not a fan.
He was I'm going to teach my kids that. So who was Hitler? Meanie.
That's
just
literally
a misunderstood artist.
Unironically,
yeah,
that is like
flatulence.
literally how the Americans like perceive Hitler. Like Hitler was just this mean guy. He's just mean.
Anyone who's mean is like Hitler.
Yeah, you're just an asshole. You're just mean.
If I could summarize American history as taught into schools,
white people are mean.
Yeah,
That's
black
literally
people were mistreated by white people. And then some other white people were like, we need to get rid of these dumb dummies in the South. And we need to they're not only are the white people bad to the blackies, but they're dummies. They're dum-dums. Even though they've like massive plantations and like traded and like, you know, entire commerce and, you know, sought independence. They're the dummy dum-dums. And so we need to liberate the blacks. Boom. Blacks are liberated. White dumb guys mad at tall guy because he hates the blackies. Blows his head off. Literally, everyone goes into cryo sleep. They wake up in trenches. There are Jews in concentration camps. No one knows what happened, but the Antichrist came in pre-incarnate form in a man named Hitler, who you said is mean. And then they said, for Western freedom, we will fight for them. And they liberated them. And then we got Israel. And then we had a bunch of wars we lost, but we don't talk about this. We had a couple things, and then September 11th happened. Then it was crazy. Cryo sleep again. Cryo sleep. Everyone wakes up. New York's under attack. And then COVID happened.
Me and Middle Easterns, no, don't think that. That's racist.
Yeah, no, Muslims were bad for 2001, but then now Islamophobia is what it is. Now we need more Muslims. The problem was we didn't have enough Muslims, and then COVID, and then now Putin's bad. That's like literally there's these gaps of like 40 or 50 years that explain nothing.
Yeah, China releases a virus, but you can't have any bad feelings towards any Asians.
I don't think we'll remember COVID. I don't think it'll go down the history books in like 40, 50 years from now. I don't think we'll talk about it. I think it'll be briefly mentioned in like epidemiology, but I think they'll want to can that one for a better pandemic. So we don't think about it.
Yeah, when more people die. Or they're tricking people into thinking pandemics are like not that deadly. So when they release the next one, people are caught off guard.
White man, bad. You need mask. Kill Putin. Graham called for the assassination of someone on Twitter and didn't even get suspended for 24 hours.
Yeah, and I got kicked off Twitter because I shared a Google Doc. I hate this country. This country's gay.
Oh,
I'm feeling sad.
hang in there, little guy.
Okay, I'm gonna internalize all of this.
Cheer up.
Okay. Hey, I know I'm normally a chipper young man. I'll try to rejuvenate that.
You and I have the same problem where we run on e-boy hours, and so like
It's real.
the level of energy that I have every day is sometimes so fluctuating that I almost feel like a different human being. And maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where you're just like, I feel like disassociated from my body. While we made this entire episode, I haven't even been here. I'm not even here.
Cryosleep.
Yeah, but I will say this: Antonio Garcia Martinez has let us know the ultimate psyop that the Ukraine business is really revealing who's an independent thinker and who's just an asshole contrarian, meaning anybody who doesn't believe the CIA state propaganda is now the asshole contrarian. If you disagree, you're an asshole.
You're an asshole.
I've never been called an asshole by like I've never been like pumping gas and I accidentally like spill gas on another guy's shoe and he's like, "Hey man, you're an asshole." Like it's always like some girl who's mad at me for frankly probably a good reason.
Asshole's is a girl word.
Yeah, it's just like not a masculine word. You're just an asshole.
Yeah. Just be like, I'm not gonna say any words. I don't want to waste time censoring right now what I was about to say. But I was gonna say this too. They act like, by the way, little education. They act like we have not been warned. And I want to watch these two videos. These are not even people I disagree with. When I say Noam Chomsky, do you like Noam Chomsky? Are you a big fan?
Oh, I have so much. Well, not so much, but I have something to say about that.
Okay, so I'm not playing these people as a fan. My point is that people that I may not even agree with politically and people that I've had issues with are kind of like, it's at the point sometimes when I'm agreeing with my political enemies that maybe I'm closer to the truth on some of these global conflicts, not American conflicts, but I think there is like a general understanding on like the far right, far left of like corporate power is an issue. How we get there and what the solution is different. But in the end, it's like there's some things that we do unite on. There really are some things like of seeing the common problem, but not knowing how to get there. Noam Chomsky actually warned us against that this would happen in Ukraine recently. Can we play video 6 and listen to this? We're going to watch also Russian-American journalist Vladimir Posner in 2018 after warning us as well this was about to happen. But of course, we can't listen to them because, you know, Biden's crack pipe regime is exactly what we should listen to. Let's play video 6.
The idea that Ukraine might join a Western military alliance would be quite unacceptable to any Russian leader. This goes back to 1990 when the Soviet Union collapsed. There was a question as to what would happen with NATO. Gorbachev agreed to allow Germany to be unified and to join NATO. It's a pretty remarkable concession with a quid pro quo that NATO would not expand 1 inch to the east. That was the phrase that was used.
So Russia has been provoked.
Well, what happened? NATO instantly moved to East Germany. Then Clinton came along, expanded NATO right to the borders of Russia. Now there are the new Ukrainian government, the government after the overthrow of the preceding one, the parliament voted, I think 300 to 8 or something like that, to move to join NATO.
Which you can understand why they would want to join NATO. You can see why Petro Poroshenko's government would probably see that it's protecting his country.
No, it's not protect. Crimea was taken away after the overthrow of the government, right? And he's not protecting Ukraine, is threatening Ukraine with major war. That's not protection. The point is this is a serious strategic threat to Russia, which any Russian leader would have to react to. That's well understood.
Yeah, so I mean, going right to you.
Literally, virtually everything he just said there is correct in terms of the timeline. there's two other pieces of information that I think substantiate this well. One of which being that in 1997, Joe Biden, of all people, was giving a press conference or something where he said that the only thing that would compel Vladimir Putin to strike erratically at the West would be something like advancement of NATO within the Baltic states. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, like he said, 1 inch eastward, not one. That was the policy. We violated that. And even, Putin asked Bill Clinton if he could join NATO, and Bill Clinton literally laughed in his face. Like, are you kidding? So
Bush too, I believe.
Yeah.
Literally when they were dancing with the
so
girls.
the implication is obviously that NATO was something to fight the USSR. The USSR collapses. Okay, then why is NATO still around? Why are they integrating all these formerly Soviet states into their alliance? And it's because they want to destabilize Russia. They want to take down Russia. They want regime change in Russia. Now they can say the quiet part loud, right? That's what people say. You've got Graham on Twitter calling for the assassination, Hannity on Fox News calling for the assassination of Putin. It's like, why? Why do they want Russia taken out? Do we really need them for our economy? Do we want cheap oil? We were energy independent. Why do we want Russia taken out? Literally because they are an impediment to the globalist American empire. It is quite simply that simple.
Quite simple.
Oh, also on Noam Chomsky, if I may. Noam Chomsky, I don't know how familiar you are with him. He's actually a pretty smart guy. He's a leftist. And he's one of these guys that leftist college students, if they think that they're intelligent, they'll tell you, read Chomsky.
Yeah,
Read
and
Noam
they
Chomsky.
always quote him because his name just sounds. Chomsky
very
has.
smart.
Chomsky writes, yeah. And so
I'm really into anyone that tells you they're like, I'm really into philosophy. I'm like, oh, fucking. Well, we know that you have. Okay,
this is
go on.
This is the just epitome of why it should be illegal to be a libtard, because these people will read his book Manufacturing Consent, which talks all about how the media will create crises within the population to get them to support a government narrative, and they use this for the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. These people will go on and on Twitter whenever Trump does anything. Read Manufacturing Consent. Read Manufacturing Consent. You go to their profile, Black Lives Matter. He, him. Nibba, you are the manufactured consent. It's you.
Did you just say nib with an with a
Nib,
B?
Nibba?
like a niblet.
What's up, Nibba?
Like a cocoa nib.
Nibba?
Yeah.
That's what white people have to say.
Nibbaroni and cheese. Give me that pizza. Slap it on. Put some barbecue
You
sauce.
say
Thank you, Elijah.
nibba not with a hard R.
Yeah, you can't say nib, not with a hard R, but nibba is totally fine.
No, yeah. That's actually true.
We got the AP fact check from Elijah.
Yeah.
that is
Yeah,
is
you
zero
are fact checkers.
zero Pinocchios.
Yeah, I want to play another video too because we always try to listen to this. We have again Russian American journalist Vladimir Posner. So when people are like, "Oh, he's Russian biased," it's like, well, there's the American bias. He's both. So
Oh, can I get mad about that too?
yeah,
Bias. I hate that word, and it comes from that same impression that you did earlier with the guy who's always like, well, "I'm smarter than both sides." Hey, they can't both be. Everyone's got to be a little wrong.
Putin's
on
got
something.
some points. Zelensky's got some points.
Yeah.
It's like it's somewhere in the middle.
This whole idea of I need to find an unbiased source. That doesn't exist. Bias, if I think the sky is blue, that by definition is a bias. Bias literally just means having an opinion.
Right.
Well, I want a source that doesn't have an opinion. That's literally impossible. And it's this sort of prideful idea of I'm above ideology and I'm above having an opinion. I'm reasonable. I'm gonna read the facts and make up my own mind. It's
ultimate NPC.
no.
It's what do you want to bot? Who are you going to listen to then?
So true.
No, and it is absolutely amazing. By the way, I also found out I might need to start a proxy with you because I think there's this. They just started this thing called super follows on Twitter. I got accepted today.
Wow.
Where people become super followers, but then I get separate alerts for $1.99 a month. You need to make, not you, your friend needs to make an alt account, and then we need to sign up for $1.99 a month. I'll even pay for it so that I just get updates whenever that account posts, and I just retweet those tweets.
I have so much fun on Twitter.
The super follows? No, you don't. Your friends do.
Oh, my friends who have more followers on their alt accounts than I do.
Yeah. I was gonna say, but let's listen to this too. He warned us as early as 2018 that this was coming if the U.S. Again, I want to point that out. He's like, well, isn't this sad? What's happening to Ukrainians? Yeah, it is sad. America caused this. And it's not because Putin. I have a little different stance than John in that I don't think he's a good guy. I think he's a serious leader. I think he's understanding what's going on. I don't think that his vision for the world may be any different in some ways than the West in terms of this fascist sort of police state authoritarianism. I don't know if he has any other option in terms of the way the world is.
I don't think he's a good guy either necessarily.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm just saying you're saying the savior, but I know you're kind of being facetious, but also not. But also it was a bit and it was a script, so it doesn't matter what you said.
I think a bad empire destroying an evil empire is on the net good.
Okay, so I like that take. I'm just going to say, though, that this is where it comes out, is this person was warning us. Let's go and play video number 7.
Mexico.
What did you hear email?
Well, the United States has a pretty large border with Mexico. Now imagine that you have a revolution in Mexico. That's not that hard to imagine. And imagine that the government that comes to power is not a big fan of the United States of America. And I think that, too, is not difficult to imagine. But since it's a little bit afraid of Big Brother, it asks the Russians to send over 3 or 4 or 5 divisions to be placed on the U.S.-Mexican border. Think the U.S. would accept that? So why would the Russians accept this? That's what it's really all about. Does there have to be a compromise? In my opinion, yes. And the compromise has to be that Ukraine, guaranteed, will not become a member of NATO. And then the compromise is that the Russians get out.
Everything he said there again is completely correct. Like, literally what Putin is even saying now is if Ukraine agrees to be neutral, like, it would be over. And that's why it didn't happen when Trump was in office. You know, people say it didn't happen because Trump was a serious leader. True. However, it was also because he told Putin, like, yeah, don't worry about Ukraine and NATO. Like, this isn't going to be a problem. It's only when you have, you know, a more establishment leadership that's trying to really expand NATO. Because, again, the establishment wants the collapse of Russia above all else. And it's like, this was the whole thing with the Cuban Missile Crisis. The USSR was moving missiles into Cuba that could reach the United States. This is now such a huge event. We all learn about it in our history. It's like considered to be the defining moment of the Kennedy presidency, other than when his head did that weird thing. And it's like, now that's what we're trying to do to Russia. And we think that, like, we're the victim somehow, or that Ukraine's the victim. Ukraine is the victim in the sense that the
Ukrainian people are the victim.
Their government has become a puppet state for the globalist American empire.
Right.
So.
And they're, by the way, and I want to caveat that, I'm saying they are partly to blame, meaning just like Americans who are victims, but also partly to blame, meaning they have bought a lot of the propaganda, and they've also done a very common mistake that the West has lied to them about, of like, you too can be Denmark. You're just, it's just because if you just accept our gay parades, it'll be like living in Denmark in Odessa. And it's like, it's just not going to be like that. And you're talking about Russia also is not a first world country. It's a second world country according to their own standard of living, because they've come out of a collapse, of an empirical collapse, right? And they've had massive sanctions and whatnot. So it's like, there was never an option for Ukraine to join the West. This was not on the table. This was a non-card. And the West is like, it's an option. And it's like, it's like literally the equivalent. And they're like, oops. And then they tell the Ukrainian people, look, it's Putin's fault. And it's like, and they believe it. And I know some Ukrainians. I had someone call me the other night who was like, I don't like your take on Ukraine. And we talked it out. And it was like, how does this not make sense? Yeah. I'm not blaming the Ukrainians. I'm blaming Zelensky's regime. I'm blaming the CIA. I'm blaming Graham, specifically McCain. Yeah. I'm not blaming the people.
Yeah. Why do you even have to say that?
Yeah. Our people, like, that's why I'm not mad at that gay kid in the video with the orange hair. I'm not like, fuck you. I'm mad at you, you little homo. Like, I'm not thinking like that. It's like, I know that kid is probably the product of growing up in an unbalanced home. Probably had, like you said, something issues happen as a kid. Now he's being put in a gay camp with Pete Buttigieg's husband, which is worse, arguably, than being involved in a war.
To validate, keep it going.
But I meant, like, so it's like, yeah, so my war isn't with that kid, right? My war is with Pete Buttigieg's husband and Pete Buttigieg and the ones that are like holding up.
The system that made this possible.
Well, not just the system, even the people. It's like I'm not against the Ukrainians, and I'm not even, like, I just get this. And that's why I'm not against Putin. I'm not pro-Putin. I'm just like, these are clearly, this is something that could have been prevented. We stoked it, and then we were like, ooh, it's because Putin's just evil. When meanwhile, it's like as if the last 20 years of history, 30 years didn't happen. Like,
yeah, you're not looking at Putin in a vacuum. You're not like just, you have to take into consideration everything leading up to it.
Yeah, like Crimea. Why do you take Crimea? He needed to keep control of the ports, Baltic Sea. He needed to keep power, and the way that they were moving to kind of shut off Russia, it's like he had to take it. Is it good? I don't like it. I don't like there was a war and invasion and annexation. No one wants this shit to happen, but it's like we can't walk around like we're the good guys when really we're just pushing the globalist agenda.
Yeah, this is something.
Crimea River, Elijah. Okay.
Crimea.
I like to tell liberal types this a lot. Like, if you had a debate with Vladimir Putin, he would embarrass you. Like, you know that, right? Like, you would not beat this man in a debate on geopolitics. And it kind of like their eyes gloss over for a second when you tell them that, and it like really kind of. They understand that, in their language of like, oh, debate me, let's debate about it. And they kind of do understand that is the case because, they kind of have this character, right? This image of what they think Putin is or Trump is or whoever. and they think, oh, I'm so much smarter than them, blah, blah. You think about it like, okay, if you're sitting down over coffee and you're talking about this, like, are you going to beat him in a debate? You know more about this than he does. Then just kind of like, no, but he's mean. He's like an asshole. And so that's just really what it all boils down to.
Like it's not he's not a real person. It's just like a cartoon.
I remember
character.
too, man, this is a sad story. I had a Donald Trump for president pen that my friend's mom bought after he won. And I was like, brought it to school and I was all excited about my little pen. And then I left it in one of my language arts classes in high school. And I went to lunch and I was like, oh no, I left my pen. Some kid's going to break it because they don't like Trump. And I remember rushing back to the class and I ran in there and the teacher and this artsy looking girl are staring down at my pen. And the teacher's laughing as this girl is literally like this demonic episode, jumping up and down, screaming, thank you, just screaming and like destroying this pen. And I'm standing there and I'm like, oh, that was my pen. I like that pen. And then she turned and she saw me and it stopped being like a thing. Like it became real to her. Like this idea of like this Nazi, it's evil. And then I was like, oh wait, no, it's just John. And I was like, oh, come on, man. Like that was my pen. And then I'm so sorry. I was like, it's fine. And it's just very like, when they kind of isolate us from society, kick us off social media, it's censorship, but as a means to
lack of accountability, lack of like
depersoning us.
Yeah.
Because like if you are dehumanizing us, like if you can't acknowledge my humanity, that I'm more or less just a chipper guy who wants what's best for everybody, then you can paint me as like a Nazi, I'm gonna break his pen, and it's like, come on, man, it's not that deep.
Can we remember like horse girls and people like that in high school? I just want to flashback of like there was some serious mental illness in high school, but you were just forced to hang around these people. Like a girl would like do that to you in class. You'd be like, I just got neighed at in class, and like you'd be like, don't like
She's
people
a
like,
part of NATO.
Yeah, no, but I mean like there's people in school where you're like you didn't have the mental capacity, or maybe you did, but the understanding to really like know this person is mentally ill, and then you go and you see these rallies, and there's somebody like blue hair that has 6 genders. You're going, well, I mean, she did think she was an animal in high school. She just hadn't been fully indoctrinated in college yet.
Yeah.
But like the transition made total sense here because these people did exist. They were unstable.
Yeah.
And then they just got taken advantage of. Like
bad behaviors went uncorrected.
No, I just remember there's always people like that. Like there was, we have this kid with this one character. This is what Kez always calls him. Kez calls him the why I oughta. There's always like this one like kid that people would mess with and like
I've seen Kez do that impression too.
Why I oughta kid. You know that kid is probably autistic, but also like then you realize you grow up. Well, those kids that got messed with were like retarded.
Yep.
Because you meet them when they're older and then they work for tech companies. You're like, oh, they're retarded.
Or they're climate activists.
Yeah. These people too. This is why bullying is so important. I unironically think, I'm just now actually realizing that this is an opinion of mine as I'm saying it. I think that the anti-bullying campaign was like a psyop.
Oh wait,
yes.
dude, I'm gonna say this. We knew this in high
Validate
school.
weakness.
No, we knew this because it started when I was like in my second half of high school, these anti-bullying things, and they came in from the federal government from grants, and they came into the schools, and we started having these things because before that they used to have the anti-drunk driving, first psyop ever in the history of psyops, anti-drunk driving.
True.
Everybody knows that drunk driving is like driving but a video game. Okay, they took that away from us.
They took an inch. They took your freedom there, and look what happened now.
I can't take 10 shots and drive down the road in like super warp speed mode. You've taken my country from me. Okay?
That's why Washington crossed the Delaware.
Yeah, it's like you think they marched into battle like without a couple shots of Russian vodka? Come on, buddy. You're not bringing out your musket without bringing out a handle. Okay, I'm just being honest. But I will say no. They used to have these things. Then it started being bullying, and they would have these guys. They started out with a very masculine approach to it. We'd have it at this public school in LA. Is they'd be like. All I can think of is Rex from Napoleon Dynamite. I'm from the Octagon. No, it'd be like a guy everyone can respect. The girls see he's
Rex
muscly.
Kwando.
Yeah, everyone. So like this is how they psyoped us. And it'd be like he'd come out and be like, I'm a 6 heavyweight champion. I did what's he would be like? I literally did entertainment wrestling in the WWE. I did professional wrestling. I'm a 6-time combat soldier that I fought in Kosovo. You don't know what he's talking about. He goes, and guess what? You see me here today? And like a picture would come on the screen in 480p. And it's like the person's like trying to get it to work, the student. And it was like, that was me. And it's like a picture of like a little weak kid that's like got glasses. And he's like, when you say that the greatest fight that I ever had was in the ring, whether it was on the field or even when I had to make the decision to bomb innocent civilians for the globalist American empire, the biggest battle I had was accepting who I really was. These muscles today. And they would give you this great speech like, hell yeah, dog, one day I'm going to grow up to fight in Kosovo, and I'm going to be in the WWE. If we just stop making fun of people, all the nerds are going to become wrestlers.
Yeah.
And that was what it was sold as, was like bullying. Then you don't realize the whole time you grow up and you're like, oh shit, the only reason why he's epic is because he got bullied into not being a bitch.
Bullied.
Literally.
So like he's like, people was like, dude, I'm a loser. Something's wrong with me. I need to not be this. And now the world is like, you used to be, you were bullied, and then you would tell the story, look, I was bullied and I took those weak things, my speech impediment, my mental illness, and I brought it for the good. I make money off the things that you told me were gonna take me down. I became something better than what you could have ever imagined. And now the notion is, instead of being bullied, overcome bullying and overcome your insecurities by accepting your mental illness, by just being out and loud gay.
Overcoming adversity, we're staying in the adversity.
Accept
we're staying.
what people make fun of you, accept it, make it your identity.
It's so spiritually feminine too. Like the bullying that we had at my school, because of all the anti-bullying campaigns, it's never going to go away, but it transitions from like a more traditional masculine bullying to much more feminine bullying. So like this was always much more disturbing to me too. Like, allegedly we would bully kids back in the day, you know, in the way that boys do.
Trolling and bullying? No,
but
no.
When you get to high school, the way that these people would like bully other people was by like ironically like hyping them up. So like there would be a kid who was like weird, who like there was this one kid and he would only walk backwards and he thought that water was poison. It was kind of base, and so he'd only drink Gatorade. And so
people like that. And people said they were cold-blooded and wore two sweaters a day. And I thought maybe it was true.
Maybe like 20 years ago, that kid would get shoved into a locker once every 2 weeks. But what these kids are doing now, and that was always like the mean kids doing that. And everyone knew, oh, those guys are just dicks. These are like the popular kids now. Or maybe we're always the mean kids. And they're like hyping this kid. Yo, what's up, Benji? Oh my God, I love this other kid who used to just walk around with a beach ball. That was just his thing. He thought beach balls looked cool.
Ready for summer.
Yeah. And people would, oh, that's so cool, bro. And like pretending to be his friend. And it's like, dude, that's not
like an ironic friendship.
The you're so hot to the girl that I hate. Oh my God, you're so cute. You're so cute.
Cool.
You were so cute. It's the same thing.
Yeah, like typically when bullying happens, it's because you're doing something that you deserve to be bullied for, frankly. And like it's really good to get knocked on your ass at least once in your life, because it shows you like you're actually not that special. You're not that fragile too, which is important to know. But I don't think that all these journalists can actually hold these opinions of like, oh, you need to pay $5 for gas for democracy. If they hadn't like gotten knocked on their ass once, like they would not have that opinion. Like I remember I was in the sandbox one time, and I'll never forget this, at my swim club, and there was this kid and he was building a fucking igloo. Okay. It was half sphere, perfect. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's a nice igloo. He's like, it's not an igloo. And I'm like, bud, it's like a perfect half circle. Like it's an igloo. No, it's not. It's like, okay, you're the boss. And then he put like a little stick in it to make a flag at the top of the igloo. And I poked the stick and it caused the stick to fract. And so it made this little like hairline fracture in the perfectly like spherical and round. And then I looked up and he had reached behind him and grabbed a tree branch, like a legitimate tree branch. And he smacked me in the head with it. And this kid, I was like maybe like 5. Wow. This kid was like 9. Kind of mean, you know, but at the same time, it's like that probably stuck with me a little bit. Like
bullying, it's about establishing a common sort of social contract. Like we're all in an understanding that we behave in a certain way, we don't behave in certain ways, and that actually creates community and unity. And now we just have so many individuals off in their little subgroups. Yeah, and that's what makes them special.
I stepped on the snake. I violated the NAP. I destroyed
my friend
his
called
private.
a black guy a cotton picker in an argument and got knocked out and hospitalized against a locker. And he fucked around and found out. And that's all I'm going to say. I don't think he ever called a black person a cotton picker to their face ever again. Even in an argument, it didn't end well for him. Now, of course, I will say this. No, true. It's like I honestly have my own opinions about people in the world because I've experienced diversity more than anyone has. I'm a huge experiential person. I have lived in it, and it doesn't work. Okay, like it literally doesn't work. And I've lived just because go to LA. Is it working? No, it's not. It's really not. But there's rich people, there's really poor people, and we have McDonald's, but it's also bad. But I'll say the bullying I think is really helpful too for people because that's the problem. And this is what I've noticed is like even why Gen Z and millennials want raises fast, they want promotions fast. The idea of a lack of adversity and thinking that adversity is bad is like everything's about good or bad, but not what could be good for you in a bad situation. Like bad things can be good, even if they don't feel good. Like God gives us, God allows us to have trials. It literally says it's for the testing of our faith. Because if you're like, oh, I'm in this season where I like feel far from God and I don't know how to follow God and I'm messing up and maybe you're watching this, you're like, I'm just really sinning a lot and I'm really like, but I know the Bible and I'm far from God. Like what's going on? You might be in a place of trial, of adversity, where you're really seeing that you do believe in God, but like to the point to where you are being tested, you feel far. And it could be God allowing you to experience and see really what your life is when you're in control. You'd be struggling with pride, with issues. And God's like, you want to take control of your life? Then watch what happens when I give you that room to take control of your life. Now you have anxiety, you're depressed, you have this stuff that goes with it. Why is everyone on anxiety pills today? It's because they aren't living in the way God would designed them to live. So they're never satisfied and they're unhappy. Why women of all people take the most anxiety pills of anyone? It's because they have made their purpose working when their purpose was in the home, and you'll never be fully satisfied working. And your purpose wasn't supposed to be work. It was supposed to be building a home and a family and your marriage and your life. That's different. Men, work was our purpose. So we don't get anxiety. We have angst or nerve because we know that we might kill each other with competition. But at the same time, it's different. And I just think like the bullying thing is what it is. People are like, what do you mean I gotta earn? I gotta fight my way up the ladder. I've got to earn and deserve respect. Now respect is just given, not earned. And we're also supposed to respect every lifestyle, every person. Everyone's equal. Every culture is the same. Genders have equity. All races, have the same outcome. And of course, diddly doo we are all amazing. And the only thing that's stopping us from finally reaching utopia at the moment, it was people not wearing masks, and now it's Putin.
Right. And you're building a muscle. It's like showing up to a gym, be like, well, you're not. Of course, you have to go through something that's hard to build muscle, and that's what life is.
Do you know? Wait, I think Joe. I don't know if correct me the percentage. Do you know how? Okay, so do you know how many men are my height or taller? How many men
are your height?
My height
or taller?
Percentage-wise in the United States,
Maybe 10,
15?
maybe literally the NBA.
It was like 6%.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like 6%. We live in we get the internet's always like, I only date guys that are above like 6 foot or whatever.
Good
and
luck.
it's like you date 6 out of 100 guys. Yeah, no, you don't. Also, I think we found out last night, the amount of guys that can pump on the bench 225, even for one rep.
On average or among guys who work out?
Men over 18, I think between like 18 to 49, the average, like where like you're in a sort of like a good physical shape that don't work out. How many men in the country could one rep, just one, 225, 2 plates, which like standard means you're in like good physical fitness?
5%.
Is that right, Joe? 5%? Yeah, 5%.
People.
I'm a genius. See, this is why I don't have to be 6 feet tall. Women like my autistic facts.
Well, like, and so it's like people are like, I want a tall, buff guy. That's like 2% of the population. You better be a girl that's worth 2% of the population.
And they're always so mediocre. It's always the girls with the highest standards.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's always the fat chicks. It's like Amy Schumer.
Too much confidence. These girls out here have too much confidence.
You know what it is too? It's because they recognize what they are attracted to in men, which is like irrational self-confidence. And because they're like so internalized, or they have so much internalized feminism, instead of like doing what is attractive to men, they just try to emulate the same way they've tried to emulate, masculine drive and ambition. They try to emulate that. So like you've got these girl bosses who are like 6s on a good day, and they're just like, I mean, he's just 6 feet tall.
So picky.
It's like, you're going to be alone and good luck.
But that's what I meant is like we live in an unreasonable world where it's like, and also, and what's problem is that algorithms reinforce that, like in TikTok. Like I see that a lot of young guys that are in the fitness community end up with a lot of body dysmorphia. As we saw,
you're gonna say gay.
Probably. That's maybe it's like you start out working out so that you can get girls, and your timeline's just a bunch of other guys that are ripped, shirtless, and everyone compliment each other. Nice physique, man. Good form. You got it, bro. It's like then the girls don't care. No, but I meant like legitimately speaking, just with that is like people are like, man, that I want to look like that. And like, bro, you're literally looking at 0.4% of the male population. You're looking at peak male fitness, peak male physique, which some people would say would be John Doyle and myself shirtless, which is true.
Literally the case.
But I will say it's like we get reinforced. That's what I'm saying. Like, hey, what a healthy body looks like. There's either just ugly fat SJWs, and you go to the fitness talk, and it's like literally Aryan Chad warriors, just like all over it. And so it's like you think you have this option of like, I get from being a fat ugly libtard to being something like this, and then you realize the adversity, the time, the force, the energy, the money, the tenacity, the mental fortitude it would take to go from a fat, ugly slut into one of these fitness girls that come from wealth, that have even some surgeries, etc., is extensible. It's so large, but you never learn that because the algorithms show you both sides only, nothing in between, because no one wants to show the process. Nobody puts up a half-assed thing on the internet. Everything is predetermined, calculated, unless it's slightly offensive, which we know is the best naturally without any preparation ever. You just end up in this world where it's like we are where we are because people are just like, you notice this? People are like, I just want the war in Ukraine to end. You think Putin's gonna be like, all right, I'll go home. Okay. Round them up. Like, it's like, no, what do you mean it's just going to end? You mean, no, do you want them to come to terms to where they create a structure of stability in the area? That shit doesn't end tomorrow.
Well, Stephanie from HR thinks that everyone should just go home and be nice and take a nap. So I don't know if Putin took that into account.
I can't believe that. I'm really proud of you for making it through this episode. I know you're tired today.
I mean, you know what?
What about me? You proud of me?
The thankless job. But you got here late. You got here late.
I drove here from Austin.
Yeah, but you got here late. You showed up after. Didn't you also eat human shit? Wasn't that another thing that...
You told me to do this.
As if we were involved in the planning of this.
Why would you ever listen to me about anything? I'm not very intelligent. I'm just...
Literally, I am actually retarded, and we are making retard hats. If you made it this far in the podcast, we're making I just at the point I'm just wearing a hat that says retard on it because it's just true. Don't blame me for anything. It's all a joke and it's all parody and it's and I'm a retard.
Yeah, life hack. If you wear a hat in the airports and on airplanes that says "Please be patient, I have autism,"
That's great.
You don't have to wear a face mask. That's how I fly.
Get you. That should be your merch.
Did you take my hat? Do you have
I stole it straight up. Yeah, because it's so good.
Yeah. Please be patient. I have autism is now a hat John has. And we don't even know if John actually has autism, but it makes sense to say it because it's a good cope. And it's also, for some reason, as we've talked about, become a positive word.
It's trendy now.
Yeah. It's like, it's just a weird world where it's like people are boasting. Like I meet young guys now and then they're always like, yeah, well, I have autism. And I'm always like, that's not something you should start a conversation now if you're asking for a job.
To yourself.
But I also want to say, again, as we've said, there's like autism is one of those rare things like alcoholism that could have a positive outlook. Like it's like, wow, the most accomplished singer ever. And she's like, I had nerves and I just was smashed drunk on the stage every day and I became the most prolific recording artist in history. Great. Most people that are smashed drunk every day don't become the most prolific recording artist in history. They have cirrhosis. So that's like the most award they get. Autism, for the most part, is not going to be that helpful in your social life, even if you have a good job. Look at Elon Musk. He's divorced many times. And I have not met anyone with a decent amount of autism that I've worked with, a lot of people that ever have an ability to keep one girl for the rest of their life. They're always having to jump around and they compartmentalize things. It's crazy. But that's not you because you're the first one. You're the trad warrior. You will the world. You will repopulate the world if you have to.
I'm just waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting to meet my my epic and based trad wife. So.
You're so young still, though. You've got another 10 years of dicking around.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I just
micro dicking around.
Right, micro penising around.
I just I don't know. I get baby fever like frequently.
When?
Oh, like last night or 2 nights ago, maybe I saw a photo, or I think it was a comic strip actually, and it showed like a mom and a dad taking like a baby for a walk. And the dad was like holding the baby and he like saw, flash before his eyes, like, the baby stops walking or walks by herself. And then pretty soon she's walking to the bus stop and down
you
college.
Be a dad.
I was like going through it and I was like, man, I want kids so bad. That's so sweet.
Cute.
To be completely honest, I have that too. And then I'm like, I'm living my life and I'm like, I'm barely functioning. But also, so it's like I want a baby, but then I'm like, am I able to be a dad right now?
Kids make you step it up. Kids like take you where you're at.
Maybe that's what I'm missing. Maybe I'm missing kids. Maybe that's what I'm missing. Maybe I need to fulfill your baby fever, kind of like a surrogate.
No, I think that there's something the same way
to bring
that
a baby to work day.
When you when as a man, when you like move out and you're independent, something psychologically just like activates. And I think the same thing when you get married and when you have more people who are reliant upon you for like sustainability, something just happens and you evolve and you step it up. And yeah, I think that I'm just gonna keep navigating. And the second I meet a girl who's like she's the one, I'm just gonna maybe I'll baby trap her. And then
poke holes in your own condom,
Right.
Mix it up.
We don't. That's satanic. Not that we're indulging in anything like that. However, we still say
condoms
maybe
are satanic.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's true.
Really?
I fully disagree with condoms. I'm totally condom pilled.
Well, you're married.
I've never used condoms in my life. Like he just was
And,
like,
and he's never done anything wrong.
and I've never
either,
done anything
the
wrong.
80s are
I've
back.
I've never sinned. But I will say this: would you? Oh, well, you're the wrong person to ask. I was gonna say, would you wear a raincoat in the shower? Defeats the purpose.
Greta would.
Defeats the purpose. Oh,
Wait, let me wrap my head around that one.
A raincoat in the shower.
would you wear a raincoat in the shower? Defeats the purpose.
No.
Exactly. Why are you going to put a protective barrier to block you from the very water you want hitting your skin? The purpose is you want the experience and you want the heat and the temperature and you want it to be wet in
Wow.
the shower and you're not trying to protect yourself. There are moments for protection and it is not when you're in the shower. There are times to bear it all for Christ.
I want to go
great.
home.
Okay.
Mom, I'm uncomfortable talking about condoms.
Bear it all for Christ.
Okay. On a side note, Chrissy, you got some comedy shows that are coming up over the next week. It was always hard for me to like address a woman and then use the phrase comedy
Yeah.
Why?
in the same sentence.
Oh, because you haven't seen that many female comics that you like. Because you're probably not that big of a comedy fan.
No, I'm
He's
totally
sexist.
joking. I
Okay.
know that's it's kind of misogynist. It's more just because I don't know what women are doing at the club. It's like, but I'm gonna say, unless of course you're showing.
Hooking up with fans.
No, I'm just kidding. But I've been to your shows. Amazing. I love your shows. They're actually incredible. We love having you on the show always and forever. Even when, I would say you could work on that bit that you planned before the show. Would you rate her bit that she made?
The
up?
Greta thing? Well, we did it. It was an awkward situation all around.
It's just, what would you rate it?
I thought we were cutting that part because
No, wait, it wasn't in the show.
Oh,
We're gonna edit after the show's done.
we're on so many layers of irony here. 10 out of 10, 8 out of 8, mate.
Oh, good.
No, but you do
work.
have these shows. I'm gonna read them off just so you guys know. If you're in these states, honestly, go see her, go support her. She actually is amazing. She's such a good sport. She is at Good Nights on 317 in Raleigh, North Carolina, Wormhole 319 Savannah, Georgia, Side Splitters 320 in Tampa, Florida, and her album live from January 6th on 315 iTunes and Amazon. What is that?
Yes, it's my debut stand-up comedy album. Jokes about January 6th, the Biden administration, the lockdowns. A lot of jokes just over the last 10 years from doing stand-up. And so, yeah, I'm so excited for you guys to hear this album. It's going to be fucking awesome. We want to get it to #1 so all the woke comics get upset.
And John, anything new coming out? You have anything to promote, merch, anything like that?
Yeah, at some point I think I'll put out my Russia-Ukraine video.
Also, catch me on Friday Night Tights. Fridays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern.
Catch me
Great
on
show.
Slightly Offensive. Catch me on the show. Just so you guys know, okay, because if you made it this far in the podcast, that means you like the show, hopefully. If you don't like the show and you make it this far, I always just tell you, develop yourself, character development, figure out something to do, that you do like, something that you're interested in. Obviously, we're going through some major changes here, not only with the crew. People are training. We're getting back on board. We have a lot of stuff planned for the future, and not in any bad way, but we're going to keep moving things in a positive direction. Give us some patience, please, as we, as... Well, I mean, what did I expect from a diversity hire? But I... What?
This is what I always tell my audience, and I think that you can probably echo the sentiment as well. Please be patient. I have autism, okay? This is hard for me. I'm very fixated on certain things, and sometimes it's not done correctly, and it makes me upset, and then my mom has to come pick me up.
Well, yeah, and I was going to say is that we are developing things. We have a lot of things in the move as well. We got some mystery behind the computer switching right now. We'll figure out. We also have mystery. We have a couple mystery people behind the screen as well that are here to help out and take things to the next level. But of course, I have to move these people to Texas and stuff. So there's a lot of interesting parts that have put this into play.
Yes.
Luckily, it's not like we have much to live up to with the show while we're understaffed, underhanded. There's nothing really living. I mean, with this show, it's not like we have to, there's no shoes to fill. In fact, it's like we're in clogs to fill. You know what I mean? Not much.
Maybe we will become the top 16.
You're in
show.
Crocs.
No, but we're going to
Yeah.
go in some pretty positive directions. HIV positive, not really, but of course the positive. Make sure you leave a review for the show. It's free, doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps us out. We got one review from Best Base Show on Blaze TV who said, "This is by far my favorite show to hear, watch in a world full of truly demonic powers and people. The humor that brings is so much needed. Even today, we were a little bit more serious today."
Very serious show for very serious people.
Very serious network. Great, honest, awesome hosts, and informative guests. It's the whole package. Love y'all and God bless. Remember, even if the whole package is a half a package or a quarter of a package, it's the thought that counts. And then great show with Dad said, good guest. Big shout out to LD. We always love him on. Amazing person. Absolutely incredible individual. We love it. And shout out to John Doyle's mom. If she's watching, a huge shout out to you. We love you. You're beautiful. You're lovely. And we appreciate you so much. Happy birthday again for your next one. Anyway, make sure you sign up at blazetv.com/Elijah for $10 off a Blaze TV subscription. That you help us fight censorship directly by joining the team. And there's 2 ways you can become an official SOB. That is a slightly offensive backer. Go to blazetv.com/Elijah right now. Use my promo code Elijah. Don't sign up with the other hosts. They don't need you. I know I'm not technically allowed to say that anymore, but I'm just like, don't sign up. If there's hosts that are more successful than us, why are you giving them more money? They're fine. Okay? They're fine. Chrissy knows this. I didn't even, what airline did we put you in to get here? I mean, it was like.
I booked my own flight.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
'Cause I'm a strong, independent woman.
Well, I think last time we just like put you in a box and shipped you in like a FedEx carrier, and you were like, "This is cold."
And there weren't enough breathing holes.
Yeah, you're like,
and
"This
I
is
think
cold."
it's permanently damaged my
Took you
brain.
You took 3 days to revive you. So I thought, we need some help. Go to blazetv.com/Elijah and help us continue to upgrade, our ability to buy a plane ticket for somebody. And also go to t.me/slightly offensive. Don't forget to support the news show. You are here whenever you can. Have a great rest of the week. John needs to go home and take a nap. Chrissy needs to get ready for the show. And may God bless the United States of America. I'm signing out.